Live across North Texas and beyond, this is the Jenna Ryan Show. Jenna Ryan is a world-renowned speaker and thought leader, ranked in the 87th most influential person online by Fast Company magazine. Jenna Ryan has spoken to thousands around the world and is now speaking to you. So with all things real estate and beyond, here is Jenna Ryan.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to my show. I'm glad to be here today. It's a Sunday, freezing Sunday. But that's okay. We can make it. I'm here today with my lovely guests. Shaun Wesley. He is in the foundation industry. And Heather White is a good friend of mine. So we're here to have a good time today. We're not just going to talk about foundation. We're also going to have a blast. We are live on Facebook. You can find it at Jenna.Ryan1 on Facebook if you want to see us actually in the studio. We're all crammed together so we can fit in the phone. And we're also live here at the radio station at Talk Radio 1190 here at near the tollway in 635. And it's just a really cool day, and we're really happy to be here, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yay. And so let's just talk. You have a boat, right?
Yes, I do.
You have a boat.
Don't talk about that, though.
We can't talk about his boat. Well, he's got a really cool boat, and it's really awesome. And we were talking about it earlier, but now we can't talk about it. So
really
forget
freezing
the boat.
morning.
It's free.
Too cold for boat.
Yeah, they were like on the boat this morning, and they've got it like all set up, and I think that's cool, and I think that that's something interesting to talk about. Something else that's interesting. I'm going to Sedona. I am going to Sedona, and I'm so excited. And yes, we're going to talk about foundation, but first we're going to talk about the fact that I'm going to Sedona. And have you heard of Sedona? It's called Sedona, Arizona.
Mickey.
What?
Hey,
Friend of mine.
Mickey.
Hi, Mickey.
Laughing about the boat.
Yeah, we're boat. Somebody got a like on the boat part at Lake Louisville.
He understood.
Yeah. Nobody cares about my Sedona, though.
Decoding.
I'm just kidding. Sedona is wonderful. It's this wonderful place I'm going to. It's like I'm going by myself, and I'm going, yes, my friends want to go, and I'm like, no, I want to go by myself. I just want to go and have a personal retreat, and I'm going to see a bunch of rocks, and I'm going to see a bunch of vortexes where there's like all this energy and all this stuff that I'm supposed to happen, and I can't wait to see the mountains, and it's in Arizona, and I'm going to drive from Flagstaff to Sedona, and it's a brave thing, and I can't wait. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going because I don't think that that's prudent. But I'm excited, so y'all send me some good vibes for that. And then we're going to talk about foundation. Foundation. I'm a realtor. I sell real estate, and every single day I deal with foundation. Foundation is foundational to the home. It's what keeps the home from blowing away during a rainstorm or a tornado or falling apart or crashing in on itself. So we're talking about foundation. Tell me a little bit about your company, Shaun.
I've got Integrated Foundation Solutions. We're located in Grand Prairie. We service the whole Metroplex. It's we're specialized strictly anything foundation related, so it's or causality of foundation. So foundation repair, we do drainage installation, and we also do retaining walls. So a lot of erosion control and erosion management, which is pertinent to foundation management, basically for long term on the home.
Erosion management. Okay, now how long have you been in business?
My company's 11 years. I've been doing this 16 years.
Wow, that is a really good,
A lot of history.
Good history there. And do you have to have like some sort of certification to be in foundation?
On my end of it, on the repair end of it, there actually is none. There's no licensing. There's no certifications. There's no training programs.
Seriously?
There's nothing. I could hire you, and you could start working for me tomorrow.
Oh, my
There
goodness.
literally is nothing. Even though it's as expensive as it is, they don't require anything.
Okay.
The kind of the filter where that gets managed properly is you have an engineer report with the project. So where
you have an engineer report that comes with every project, or should. Sometimes they don't.
A lot of companies skirt that, and they skirt that to save the customer money so they come in cheaper.
Right.
But they can also do whatever repair they want to have a really cheap job. So where a project may require 15 piers to install, they'll do 10 to come in cheaper, not have an engineer report. The customer thinks they're getting their house fixed, but they're not. They're just getting a partial repair. So where our catch is, checks and balances, is we always have an engineer come out. So if there's a problem or an issue with the repair plan, they catch it.
Right.
So they won't let a customer have a 10-pier job where they needed 15 or 20 or more.
Right, because the structural engineer is certified, and they must provide accurate information. And so they come in and basically check the work of the foundation repair company.
Right.
And you also need a hydrostatic plumbing test done, correct?
Always afterwards.
After the after the foundation work is done, then you always need to get the engineer's report and a hydrostatic test done. And you need to keep that documentation and hang on to it for whenever you go to sell the property, because somebody's going to ask for that, like they did yesterday and the day before on some deals I'm working. It's just a you've got to have that hydrostatic test, because what happens is whenever you go and do foundation, it can cause when you're you can say this better than me. What happens when you do foundation that can hurt?
Actually, that's somewhat of a myth. Not too much, but a lot of people feel that the foundation repair causes a leak, where actually it's all the foundation movement in the past caused a leak. You just never tested it until after your foundation was fixed.
Oh.
So all you're doing is putting the house back where it belongs, but that's not the part where it broke. It broke because it's constantly moving. It's like if you take a plastic pin and keep bending it back and forth, eventually the pin will break. And that's what the pipes are going through underneath, and eventually they snap. We just put the house back close to its original construction elevation. So that really doesn't cause a break. And a lot of times when they do these tests, they actually will find leaks on other parts of the house where no work was done.
Right.
They just never tested it, so they didn't know they had a leak ongoing.
So do they do pre and post tests?
You can. It's a waste of money, because if you have a leak before, you're still going to have a leak afterwards. Now, back before 2001, when the insurance companies would still cover part of plumbing repairs, before they changed and put tons of amendments in their system, you would do a pre-test, because if you flagged a leak, you would put the project on hold, bring out the plumbing companies and have them get involved, and then we would do the job later.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Now you don't do that. Now that the insurance companies, there's very, very few older policies around still that cover that. There's a few USAA ones that still cover it. I think there's one Cadillac State Farm older policy that's still around that covers it as well.
I've never seen anyone cover it.
No.
I've just seen people have to do a lot of foundation work and add a lot of piers to their property, and then if you're a buyer agent, you want to make sure there's no leaks, no slab leaks, but it is a myth. I do get what you're saying, because we always think it's because of the foundation problems. But what you're saying is it was probably already there, and it's just,
no one went to look for it.
No one went to look for it.
A lot of people don't want to know. It's kind of like going to the dentist. You don't want to know you have a cavity. Nobody's going to check their plumbing just to spend the money to check it, because if there's a leak and they don't think anything's wrong, they're not going to go, oh, I hope there's something wrong, let's go spend money on it, because they don't get to touch, feel, smell, taste it. So it's not tangible to them. They don't want to spend any money on it.
It's like the last thing you want to do is go and fix your foundation. But it's the most important thing you need to do in order to care for your home. And we're going to get all into that during this show. We're going to talk about maintaining your foundation and all kinds of things. But I just want to get into the nitty-gritty really quickly, because I have a home that I'm working on right now where we're in the option period, and there is significant cracks on the property. Now, here's the deal. Here's another myth. People are like, oh my gosh, there's cracks on the property. If you're like a first-time home buyer or not an experienced home buyer, you're like, okay, there's been foundation issues. I don't want that house. The deal about foundation, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to have problems, because you will have problems in Texas, because we've got this clay soil, right?
Right.
The clay soil is mendable, movable. It moves.
Well, it's highly elastic, and that's because our clay is different than other clays.
Okay.
And this clay is elastic and has an expansive and contraction rating on it that causes movement. So when we get foundation failure, a lot of the issues we have are because of the expansion. Okay. So when it swells up, it needs to grow, and if there's mass on top of it like a house and it can't go up, it displaces outward. And so you end up losing mass because of the rainfall, and then you get erosion.
Okay, but if a house has, foundation problems, you can fix it. You can get piers, or you can shim the piers and do all the things you need to do. But if you have a slab, you can get piers, and then it's like all the way down to the bedrock.
Yeah, sometimes you don't hit bedrock because there's different layers of soils. There's caliche, there's Austin chalk, and actually down at the bottom there's a gray clay at the very bottom. And that gray clay is very chalky, sandy, and it gets more dense the farther you go down, the bottom of it being the most dense, which is what we call bedrock. So as you put the pier in, sometimes you may not make it all the way to bedrock because you get to a point that's so dense and so rocky it won't go through that soil anymore.
Okay.
But it has resistance that'll carry the load. So the load-bearing strata of that soil will carry the load of the structure.
Okay, but it's not the end of the world. You guys, our phone lines are open, and you can call in and ask a question of Shaun Wesley, who is a foundation expert. If you have a question about foundation, about your home, about a home you're purchasing, any question you have about foundation, you can call in today at 214-787-1190. And the whole key here is that if a home has foundation problems, it's not the end of the world. You can get piers, and a home that has been repaired is actually better than one that's not been repaired. Like if you're going to find a home, you want one that has already had the repairs done, because we're going to talk about, after we get back from the break, what can happen.
Yep.
Are you ready to take advantage of this hot Dallas real estate market? If so, go to my website at imaysell.com. Fill out the form and receive valuable information about selling your home. The Dallas real estate market is hotter than ever. We're having the biggest real estate boom in 10 years. Maybe it's time for you to sell your home. If so, visit imaysell.com. That's imaysell.com. Fill out the form and receive valuable information about selling your home in the Dallas, Denton, and Collin counties.
Don't you hate it when you're doing your taxes and your so-called free tax site charges you $70 before you file? $70 doesn't sound very free. Well, now there's Credit Karma Tax. Credit Karma Tax is really, truly, completely free. That means you never get charged for itemized deductions or federal filing. Yup, even state filing is free. You worked hard for your refund, and at Credit Karma Tax, we think you deserve to keep all of it. This year, file your taxes for free and get your full refund at creditkarma.com/tax. Free to start, free to finish. Credit Karma Tax.
Ever had buyer's regret? A pair of shoes you didn't really need, electronics obsolete before you even plug them in, or tens of thousands of dollars of timeshare regret? That's what you get when you're stuck with a timeshare agreement you don't want anymore. We're the Timeshare Exit Attorneys, the leaders in helping folks get out of timeshares and erasing regret. See if you qualify. For the free help you need, call 1-800-700-0419. Maybe you made an impulse buy that has become a financial burden you can no longer afford. Maybe you don't use the timeshare enough to make it worthwhile. Maybe you were pressured by a timeshare salesperson into making a bad decision. Now you want out because your timeshare isn't a fun escape, it's a waste of your money. With decades of experience, we're your #1 trusted option with fast, professional service. No middlemen, no cutting corners, no more timeshare regret. See if you qualify. For the free help you need, call 1-800-700-0419. That's 1-800-700-0419.
Hi, I'm Nick Jonas, and I'm here to tell you about Think It Up, a new initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join us at thinkitup.org.
Welcome back to the Jenna Ryan Show.
Beautiful children. Hi, this is Jenna Ryan. I'm back saying hello to everyone on Facebook. Welcome back to the show. We are live on Facebook, and we're talking to Shaun Wesley today, and we're talking about foundation. And we also have Heather here, beautiful Heather in the studio. She's our prop. We're, objectifying her. She's gorgeous. We have a caller who has a question. His name is Jim. So, hi, Jim.
Hey, Heather. I'm sorry. Hello, Jenna.
Hello.
Yeah, I have some questions around, and yes, Heather is very beautiful.
I know. Isn't she gorge?
Yeah, she is. Oh, my God.
I know.
The purpose of my call is my foundation, and I live in Sparkman Estates, which is an area that's well known
In Plano.
for foundation movement.
Yes.
No, in Dallas.
Oh, in Dallas. Okay.
Laurel Marsh area.
Okay.
And it's a pier and beam structure. When I bought the house, I knew that it had some foundation work done previously, and I had to have some subsequent work done after the big rains that we had, about 2.5 years ago. And they did some shims.
Okay.
After that, I have a floating slab structure for my garage, which sunk in one area, so they did some mud jacking.
Okay.
And since that's been done, I have a big crack across the floor of my garage, and as well as in my patio between the garage and the house. And I'm at a point now to where it appears I'm going to have yet more foundation work done. I've been doing some work with one foundation company, and, I keep having to, they say, well, we can fix this, we can fix that. I have not had a foundation engineer out here or a structural engineer, so I just wanted to get Shaun's thoughts on, using a structural engineer before you have any foundation work done, because it seems to me I'm like continuing to spend money on this house and debating if I should call it quits and move elsewhere, or
Yes, you should, and I should be your realtor. This is Jim A., isn't it?
It is.
Jim A. Yes, we've been talking about this with you, selling your house.
We were to meet, and unfortunately, I had to reschedule, as you know, on Thursday. But I want to meet with you this upcoming week. So
cool. Well, I'm glad you're listening to the show. And so you're saying that should you get a structural engineer out prior to, just to kind of figure out where you're at? And I want to answer that after he does.
Okay, I'll start with first a question. For where you're at, then, your house is built sometime probably mid to late 50s?
58.
Yep, okay. Your garage floor is a floating slab, meaning it's not tied to the foundation at all. Don't worry about it. Don't put too much pressure in it. It doesn't add or detract to the value of your home. I know why it's doing what it's doing, and here's what the issue you're having with the rest of your house. Where you live, that area, it's a blend of late 50s homes. Some are screeded slabs, some are pier and beam. There is a lot of groundwater in that area, and it's well known. So did you say earlier sump pump? Did I hear you say that?
No.
Mud jacking.
We had a lot of rain a couple years ago, and when you looked under the house, it was literally like I was waiting for Noah's Ark to fill up.
That's what I thought.
You could see the water underneath the house.
Your issue over there is there's a lot of groundwater. When it rains, those houses, the pier and beam parts, do flood a lot. This house is, all those foundations over there, very manageable. It's all water management. So you're having, what I tell everybody is, imagine if it never rained again. This clay would dry up hard as a rock and nothing would ever move again. I would be out of work. All foundations would just lock up wherever they're set. So the only variable we have is water. So when this clay gets wet, and we talk about how it expands and contracts, it changes the soil's ability to carry a load, but it'll also create heave in the center of the house where those piers are shallow, and you get humps in the floor and whatnot. And then when the soil dries out, all of a sudden there's voids between those piers and the beams, and that's why you keep having to have them come out and re-shim. Your fix on this house is actually to put what's called, I haven't seen it, but what we usually do are put like a field drain underneath. It's almost like it's an open French drain under the house with a sump pump. So as the water level table tries to rise up, the bottom of the field drain becomes the lowest point, it accumulates water, doesn't allow for that change in the shallow piers which are under your house. And now all of a sudden you're not experiencing that, what people call seasonal movement. Seasonal movement just means you have poor drainage or you have a lot of groundwater. Because again, if it never rained, it would just stay dry and nothing would move. And that's what I try to emulate. I try to emulate that constant, almost a dry environment. I say that because it's easier to emulate dry in Dallas, Texas than it is wet because it doesn't rain much. But when we do, we just get too much at once. And where you're at, it is well known that there's a tremendous amount of water underneath. And so when it rains hard, it doesn't have anywhere to go because the water's already there. So your house becomes the trough, basically. So if you had a basement, with the way your setup is, it would flood every time you had a rain. So you need to start thinking about how would I keep my basement from flooding.
But what I would recommend is that you go ahead and put the house on the market and let the buyer do the research and make the request that they're looking for, because, that's just, rather than try to fix everything and make it perfect beforehand. That's what
she's actually right in the sense of, because what I'm talking about is the causality of it. For you to sell your home, you don't necessarily have to go do all those things. Because structural wise, it may pass engineering.
Right.
Whether or not it passes engineering is different than whether or not it has excessive seasonal movement from a lot of water. Those are two totally different things.
So, yeah, whenever the the buyer comes out, they do their due diligence. And as long as if you have had foundation work done, you need an engineer's report. You don't want to get a foundation company that does not have an engineer's report. But if you don't have one, then you don't necessarily have to get one unless the buyer requests it, because somebody may not request it. Your home, there may be other aspects to the home that, where we could still get value out of the home. So does that answer your question?
It does.
And actually, your garage and porch were not poured with steel. They were poured with chicken wire. I'm not joking.
Okay.
I'm not joking. They were. Yep.
So can that be corrected where you have cracks? What do you do? Just put another layer of concrete over that?
Well, they shouldn't have mud jacked it, and that was the problem, because you probably did it during a drive time, and it wasn't raining much, and then all of a sudden the ground got wet and it swelled up, and that's what caused that hump. Mm-hmm. You can re-pour it, and there's a company that can come in and actually they can pour a leveling agent around the outside of it. Again, though, remember that has chicken wire in it. Don't add a lot of weight. It can't hold it. It's just a garage floor. I wouldn't worry about it.
I sell houses all the time with a cracked garage floor, as long as it's priced properly and everything else is good. Yeah. And as long as it doesn't have a huge structure on, it's not a 2-story home. If it's a 2-story home,
well, it won't matter because it's a garage floor. It's not tied to the house.
And this is a 1-story. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no
I can't wait to see your house. So we've got to reschedule that appointment.
Yeah.
Jim. Thank you for calling.
I want my house to look nice when I invite Heather over for dinner.
Exactly. And also, we will make your house look nice because my staging people come out and you should see what we do. We do some amazing transitions. I bring like a carload of stuff and we get your house looking amazing. I have a maid that comes out for hours and I just go the extra mile. So you've got to get me out there first and then decide. And I look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, I'll PM you and we'll set it up for this week sometime.
And maybe Heather will come. Maybe I can get her.
Maybe. Oh my God!
That next call.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks, Shaun.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye, Heather.
Bye. Have a great Sunday.
Okay, Heather is Shaun's woman, by the way. Hello. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to, so if you have, what?
I think he asked about how to avoid foundation problems.
What can we do? Okay, Mickey wants to know, what can people do to avoid foundation problems, Shaun?
And it goes back to what I said to the caller. It's all about stormwater management. So the first key is have gutters on the house.
Gutters.
Gutters are the first part of water management. The second is those downspouts on the gutters. You can't just dump them next to the foundation because it's like taking a hypodermic needle and water, and you get too much erosion.
You don't want too much moisture.
So you take those downspouts and you put them in an underground pipe, a solid pipe.
Okay.
And then run that pipe to the street or alley. So now the roof water is displaced away. And if you have areas where the lot along that line where it's flat along the house, or you have negative slope towards the house, in that line, put collection boxes so that water can be collected and put into the pipe, because you want that water to move through underground or through a pipe, not above ground where it creates erosion. So season after season, every time we do piers, every time it's on the downhill side of the lot where there's fill dirt. So fill dirt is what usually will wash away during rainfall. And so if you go to a house and the lot slopes left to right, the right side of the house will be the side you put piers on. Or if it sits above the street, the front is where you put the piers.
What about soaker hoses? Can we do that?
Soaker hoses I think they're overvalued in people's minds. The soaker hose will not prevent foundation problems, but it's part of keeping the cracks closed around the house so that the stormwater doesn't get into the cracks and create erosion later.
Okay. So soaker hoses are good, and drainage is good. And
it's all water management, 100%.
It's all water management. That's
Yep.
very interesting.
Yep.
So if you have gigantic cracks in a house, it doesn't necessarily mean let's say there's a house and you have a lot of gigantic cracks in the brick, but you love the house and it's a great price and the foundation work has been done. Should you just walk away from that house or what?
Brick is just a veneer. So I tell people as they walk up, what if it had wood siding?
Right.
Would you have the same emotional, tendencies?
Okay.
Probably not. If it may have had a lot of movement. The movement caused the cracks, not necessarily failure. So it might have a drainage issue. It might have something that caused those cracks. It may have had foundation repair already, and they didn't do the cosmetic crack repairs. If that's the case, then there's nothing wrong with it. If you have concerns, have an engineer come out and put their little stamp on it, because that way when you go to sell it, you'll have that with you.
And then the engineer's report's about $500, and it's worth it. But you can actually ask the seller to do it, or you can do it yourself. Some of the buyers do it, pay for the engineer's report. Our phone lines are open. Don't you love this conversation? Are you learning a lot about foundation? I sure am. Our phone lines are open at 214-787-1190. We're going to break. Talk to you in just a minute.
Well, there's a black man with a black cat living in a black neighborhood.
Are you thinking of buying or selling a home? If so, contact me, Jenna Ryan, with RE/MAX Dallas Suburbs. I was born and raised in Dallas, and I know every area and every suburb. If you're relocating to the area, downsizing, or upsizing, or buying your first home, I can help you find the home that's perfect for you. Contact me today at 972-510-9177 or go to my website at JennaRyanRealty.com. You can also email me at JennaRyanRealty@gmail.com. Whether you're buying or selling, I'm Jenna Ryan, your best friend in real estate. I have my own radio show, 25 years of sales experience, and a team of experts to help you with all of your real estate needs. Join me, Jenna Ryan, from 11 to 12 on Sundays, where we talk real estate on Talk Radio 1190.
I know I need to earn my MBA if I want to move up. I'm looking for an MBA that offers unique concentrations. I want an online MBA that's top-ranked, established. I care about the school's reputation because I know my future employers will too.
Thinking about earning your MBA? At Northeastern's DeMoore McKim School of Business, we offer a 100% online MBA with 8 concentrations that can help set you apart in today's competitive workforce.
To speak to an enrollment advisor, text WORK to 37913.
Phone lines are open at 214-787-1190. Here's Jenna Ryan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today we are getting well informed about foundation. And by the way, if you want to listen to the show again or share it with anyone, it's going to be on YouTube at The Jenna Ryan Show. It will also be on my website. It will be on my website so that if you want to share this or listen again about foundation, you definitely can. We're also live on Facebook at Jenna.Ryan1. And Shaun's over here talking. I don't know what he's saying, but I think he's listening to people. I mean, he's talking to people on Facebook, but we're here on the radio and right now. And we've also got Heather with us today. She is a prop. We are using her as a beautiful object behind us, like a beautiful vase. She's gorgeous behind me. And if you want to see us live, go to Jenna.Ryan1 on Facebook. And so what we're going to talk about next is retaining walls. What's the deal with retaining walls?
Retaining walls are where I talk about management, erosion control management. The retaining wall is an area where there's an excessive amount of fill dirt, and so you need an elevation on a lot that slopes a lot. So when you have too much, you need to make sure that fill dirt that they're adding stays in place. So if if it's a quick drop, what they'll do is they'll put the retaining wall in to basically retain that soil.
Right.
And with proper drainage, the retaining wall will last a long, long time. It's just if you drain the wall, then it won't accumulate water behind it, and your management of water, which I'm talking about over and over and over again, becomes much simpler because the water's
when you have a
directed
retaining
away.
wall.
Well, if it's properly drained, if it has drainage properly, a French drain behind it, a surface drain on top of it, that's how you manage.
So a home with a retaining wall, you want to make sure you have the proper drainage, and it really needs to be maintained, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What are the different types of foundation?
Well, there's two basics. I mean, you have a slab and a pier and beam. Now, you're going to have some variations. Like you get into Park Cities, you'll have piered slabs.
Ooh.
Where they'll put in 80 or 100 piers under them before they pour them. Same thing up in Castle Hills. Those are all piered slabs.
Seriously?
And you have screeded slabs, which you have over off Marsh Lane, Cromwell, where they're slabs that are built. They're almost porches. They're thin pours of concrete. They don't have much in the beam structure, and then they built a wood framing above them with 2x4s on their side, so that they could put wood floors in. And those are what they call a screeded slab. And then just your standard pier and beams. Now, pier and beams, there's different variations. Like you get Irving, Las Colinas. Those are tanks. They're all concrete.
Okay. And so let's say you're going to. Okay, I'm just going to take it off that for a minute. Let's say you're going to do a pier. You're going to do piers on a property. From what I understand, you really can't get underneath the middle of the home. The piers have all got to be put in on the the exterior of the home.
No,
so you would have to drill a hole right in the middle of the house, or what do you do, like fracking?
You jackhammer a hole is one option.
You jackhammer a hole right in the middle of the house. So if you want a pier in the middle of the house, you're going to have to tear something up.
Yes.
Period.
Or we tunnel, which is very expensive.
And you don't want
to be tunneling. It's just an economic decision.
Okay, but some people, you have to tunnel if you have to.
Some people have floors that they feel are precious and they don't want a hole.
No.
Done, and so
I don't know anybody that wants a hole in their floor.
So they'd rather pay the extra money for the tunneling.
Unless it's like a flip and you're going to have to do that anyway.
Right.
Then they may want to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a lot of homeowners that it's an economic decision. They don't want to spend the money on tunneling. So they're like, I'll retile, I'll do whatever, I'll do the floors. Because a lot of the rooms that we do them in are like bedrooms and whatnot. We peel the carpet back, do a hole, and then they just restretch the carpet later.
Okay, very interesting. Now, why is it less expensive, generally speaking, to handle foundation issues with a pier and beam home?
Traditionally, when your repairs on a pier and beam are going to be, wood rot replacement, which is usually minimal, and then shimming, where you go in and actually, re-shim the house out, which is it's almost considered a maintenance. Some engineers put in their paperwork you'll expect to do it every 6 to 8 years. It just, again, it depends on your water management. If it never gets moisture into the house, you may never shim it. I have 40-year-old homes that have never been shimmed. You have a call.
Oh, we have a caller.
Yeah, Steve is on the line.
No, Steve.
Finally, we get a call. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going good. You guys are talking about my subject today.
Oh, wonderful. So you were asking what about your house in Carrollton?
Yeah, it's had foundation problems. The cracks have been there for probably 6 years or so.
Okay.
But then there's the retaining wall, which is an extra added bonus fund.
Okay, so the cracks are where?
I guess several different places, but the worst is like in the kitchen.
Internal cracks?
Yeah, I got some of that.
What year was it built?
99.
Okay. You're in Carrollton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you near Castle Hills?
No, that's north of me. I'm closer to Josie and
Josie?
Springs.
Okay.
Which is a very popular area. I love that area.
I say that because Carrollton, it's very hilly, obviously. So you have a retaining wall because your street obviously slopes one way. So the question that you're going to have is, how is your drain, not on the retaining wall side, but on the other side of the lot, how's the drainage? Do you have gutters? Do the gutters do the downspouts go into a pipe? Do you have collection boxes to grab your neighbor's runoff water? Do you have, I know you don't have a wing wall. Does it slope away from you properly?
Well, the backyard is actually, they're running the drainage through part of my backyard.
Okay, so you're on the easement. Okay. So when it rains, you get an atrocious amount of rain in your backyard. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting oversaturation. And that oversaturation is what I was talking earlier, where you have It's not necessarily a foundation failure. You're getting movement. And it's because the soil, the clay soil that's supporting the home, the moisture content in that soil is changing. So as it changes, it's going to change structure and expand and contract. And so in heavy rains, no matter what, it's just like some people that live up next to a creek always have a lot of movement, because when that creek rises, the water table goes up and their house, reacts with it. So you're kind of like that, where you have a creek in your backyard. When it rains a lot, run across there, and you're getting that movement from the water. It's not necessarily failure, because to get failure, you have to have erosion or a loss of mass. And it's the loss of mass that we come in and we put the piers on. So the retaining wall side is, if you ever have foundation work, it'll be that side of your house. But you need to look at your house and say, as far as your drainage, water management, what can you do to improve it, to minimize the cracking you're having? But just remember, a crack doesn't mean you have foundation problems. It just means you have a crack. That's it. So you're going to get those because everything in the house is rigid. The brick is rigid, sheetrock's rigid, and nothing's flexible. It's going to react to the moisture change. So if you ever want to, you could have us come out. We could look at the drainage part of it and look at the condition it is now and how you can increase it. What you can do to minimize the water. That's all you're trying to do, is minimize the water around it.
Right. Does that make sense, Steve?
I think so. And you're saying you would do that before really having the foundation done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there's a chance, if you have a drainage problem in the back, there's a chance that you have heave and you're experiencing a lot of uplift because you're in Carrollton, and Carrollton's so known for that.
There's a fault line going right through Carrollton.
So if you fix the drainage, there's times if you do the drainage right, and maybe French drain, surface drain combo, and that high side lowers down because you've extracted the water out of the clay, well, now you don't have as much slope on the other side. It's all acclimating out. It's all meeting in the middle, basically. And then you can reevaluate the house, because during this time, the low spot could go lower too. And if that's the case, yes, you look at it.
You need to call Shaun and have him come out and help you. How do we get in touch with you, Shaun?
Call my office. It's 972-660-8600. And leave a message or talk to one of the girls, and they'll schedule me out.
You guys need to call him because he's sponsoring the show, and we need to take care of our sponsors. And thank you so much for calling, Steve. I really appreciate it, and appreciate you listening. And when you're ready to sell, let me know.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Hey.
Okay. So what is a better type of foundation? So is pier and beam better than the slab?
Yes.
I think it is.
Well, the reason the pier and beam, the reason it's better is it's if we're talking about the clay as the problem, what you want to do is reduce the amount of area that's supported by the clay. So in a pier and beam, just the perimeter grade beam and the piers inside the middle are touching soil. So you're not fully supported by the clay. And then the other advantage you have is in a pier and beam around the entire perimeter are builder piers, or piers are already pre-installed into the foundation to greatly minimize movement around the outside. So any movement you're going to get would be usually through the center piers, but on the newer homes, you don't even get that because they're drilled so deep.
Okay, so earlier you said that if there's a gigantic crack in the garage of a pier and beam home,
or anywhere, yeah,
or a big crack in that garage, that it doesn't affect the upstairs?
No.
Why not?
Because the garage floor isn't a part of the foundation. It's just a floor. You can go into your living room. Forget the garage, go into your living room. You could have a huge crack down the middle of your living room. It won't affect the second floor because it's not being supported by the area where the crack is.
Okay.
So they're two totally different entities.
Okay. What are the telltale signs that you have foundation problems externally and internally?
I guess it starts with knowing you have foundation movement, and then you're finding out if it's a problem. When you have a lot of cracking, doors sticking, like everybody always says.
Okay, so doors sticking, a cracked window.
No, not necessarily a window, but like the framing opens up around the window or the door, the framing around the brick. Yep, separation of framing.
Cracks in the brick. Yep. Or cracks in the kitchen.
Cracks in the kitchen, a sheetrock.
Like what kind of cracks? What kind of cracks are settlement cracks versus you've got an issue, lady?
Well, there's the cracks that you're going to get small cracks, like they're hairline in size, and there might be one or two here and there. They're no big deal. I mean, it's not anything to worry about.
Okay.
There's cracks where they go at an angle real sharp and they open up seasonally. You have an issue. That's where you're seeing you have a lot more movement. And then you have these cracks that people always look at and they look like a hump. It's not like a crack. It's like it's humping over, like it's pushing out. and it's called a compression fracture. And those occur because you have too much water in that area. And what it's doing is it's heaving the slab. And as it's pushing together, there's nowhere for it to go. So it pushes out and buckles the tape and it buckles the sheetrock. And so we'll get outward cracking or a buckle in the sheetrock.
You're like really into drainage.
Yeah, water.
You're like a drainage foundation guy, which is wonderful because that's very preventative whenever you know what the drainage is and, you can fix the problem. Okay, so if you have all of these problems in the house, let's say you get the foundation fixed. Mm-hmm. Let's say you get the piers done, 8 piers, the 20 piers or whatever. Isn't it usually after you get the piers done, you're going to have some cracking and some, what did you call it, cosmetic issues that occur because of the work that was done?
You can. You're just putting the house back into place.
Okay.
So if I have a homeowner that's lived there 20 years, they've never painted, there's a bunch of cracks. When I lift the house, some of the cracks are going to close because they've never painted and fixed them. If they paint and fix them and I try to lift it, then there's nowhere for that to go. Then I re-crack everything out, and it looks bad. It makes it look bad because it's cosmetic. It's not a structural issue.
Okay. So after you get foundation work done, you're going to have some cracks. Mm-hmm. I know that because I deal with it every day. You're going to have some cracks, but you can fix those cracks, and you want to disclose on the seller disclosure that you did work on the home. So that's the way it works. But it's not the end of the world if you have foundation problems. You can get it fixed by Shaun. We're going to break. Talk to you soon.
Are you considering a mortgage loan? If so, contact my favorite lender, Brad Walters, with American Southwest Lending. He's always available and always on time. He's the only guy I would consider for all of my clients' loans. He's direct and to the point and doesn't give you the runaround. Call Brad Walters with American Southwest Lending at 214-924-1066. He will get the best rate and the best loan for you.
Small business owners, here's a thought. 61% of consumers find their new music through AM/FM radio, more than any other way by far. Think about that. Millions of highly engaged people are out there listening to iHeartRadio, just waiting to discover something new. How would you like that to be your small business? Call 844-BUY-RADIO and get heard.
I had memory foams, I had feather pillows, and I'd always wake up with neck pain. After sleeping on my pillow, I didn't wake up with the headaches, I was more aligned.
I didn't realize the connection between the pillow and sleep. When I switched to my pillow, I got a better night's sleep, and I love it.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it holds that support all night long to take the pressure off your shoulders and keep your neck aligned so you get the best night's sleep of your life.
MyPillow is machine washable and dryable and comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee and an amazing 10-year warranty. Plus, every MyPillow is made in the USA.
I personally guarantee that MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own.
For a limited time, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code iHeart to take advantage of Mike's 4-pack special. Or call 800-480-1941 and give them the promo code iHeart. You'll get 40% off 2 MyPillow Premium Pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows.
Little pink houses for you.
Welcome back to the Jenna Ryan Show on Talk Radio 1190 AM.
Welcome back, everyone. We're having a great show today here on Sunday. Hope everybody's doing fabulously. We're here today with Shaun Wesley. He's a foundation expert. We're learning all about foundation. The phone lines are open at 214-787-1190. And we have a caller on the line. Do we still have our caller?
Yes, ma'am. Bulma has a quick question for y'all.
Okay, Bulma has a quick question. Hi, Bulma.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. So I have a question for him.
Okay.
So I'm trying to add a sewage drain line for a fish tank.
Trying to add a sewage drain line for a fish tank. Okay.
Yes. Will doing so weaken my foundation? Or is that a better way for me to do or is it worth it?
What year was the house built?
96.
Okay.
96.
You got postage
the house was
and cables.
Built 96.
You can't just go and saw cut a line for the new drain to go under the slab because you've got too many cables and whatnot. I would not do that. If you were that serious, I mean, it must be one heck of a fish tank to want to do this. You'd want to tunnel under to it, come right up underneath and drain it that way. Or if you can have a plumber come out. If it backs up to something like a bathroom or kitchen, I would have them run it through a wall. I would not saw cut that slab. You'll have 2 foundations to deal with.
Okay, that helps.
Well, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in and thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that's interesting. So now we're going to talk about trees because trees have a big impact. Yeah, all kinds of foliage have impact on the home. But let's just talk about a gigantic tree that's right next to your living room.
Well, it's now it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about a slab or a pier and beam.
Okay.
Because homes and trees have lived and enjoyed together for a long time. And that's because we always had pier and beams. So in a pier and beam, the roots crawl up under the foundation, but it doesn't really matter. I can crawl over the roots when I'm under a house. It's no big deal because they can't affect the foundation. They're just sitting there.
Okay.
So in a pier and beam, you're not going to get a negative reaction at all from trees usually because and then you have piers around the perimeter already, so it's not a factor.
Interesting.
Now,
Interesting.
That's
something I didn't realize.
So where the tree's going to have an effect, the tree will not, like I said earlier, you're not going to have failure unless you have a loss of mass. The tree is not going to take the mass away. So I could have a house.
Wait a minute.
How does a tree
what
affect
do you mean mass?
The soil. It's not going to take the soil away from under the house. What the tree do is they do require big trees require a lot of water. 400, 500 gallons a day.
Oh my gosh.
Most of that they're going to get from deep under the ground, but they do have surface roots that they will draw moisture from.
Okay.
And as they do, what happens to this clay, and as we talked about the drainage, the clay actually will dry up excessively.
Okay.
It'll crack and you get large fissures in the clay. Those
Okay.
big cracks we all see in the yard. And it'll also start to dry it out so much, the clay will pull away from the house. The reason that clay pulls away from the house is as it's drying up, it's shrinking. And so the air will blow between there and it causes it to shrink more and more and more, and it detracts away from the concrete foundation, and then you get a void. So you have a void near the house and it cracks in the yard. So neither of those things will cause a foundation problem. However, when it rains, now I have these huge voids that were created because of the roots, and those voids allow moisture to go underground, which causes erosion. And so as it goes across the lot, underground, the fissures will cause a loss of mass, a loss of soil or clay on the downhill side of the lot. So you could have a tree on the front left and a tree on the front right, the same size, the same age. One side has foundation problems and not the other because one side's the downhill side of the lot. So that's how it affects it. Now, you talk about shrubs up against the house. You shouldn't have red tip petunias or hollies. Those are the 2 no-nos.
Why?
They're not shrubs, they're trees. They actually are a tree. They have tree roots. You don't want those large roots too close to the foundation because they will draw so much moisture and they can cause foundation problems because they're a tree root, not a shrub.
Okay, so let me just stop. Okay, so basically what I'm getting from this whole thing is that you want the soil to be the appropriate mass. You want it to not be too mushy and not be too dry. You want it to be just right.
Correct. More dry than wet.
More dry than wet.
Yep.
So you want, so you want to make sure that you don't have really water intensive plants around.
Right, because if they do, you have to water them directly. Like large trees, one good way to address a large tree in the yard is do a deep root watering. You can look that up online. You wrap the soaker hose around the base of the tree and put it on a timer, run it once a week for about an hour to 2 hours, and you put all the water to the base of the tree so it does not draw as much water from its roots, from its support roots, which means it's not going to suck as much moisture out of the clay. So you're not having to add water to your yard to offset what a tree is removing.
And what about a root barrier?
I hate them. But
why?
Well, the problem with the root barrier is if you know anything about, call an arborist, they'll tell you if you cut through those roots, you can actually disease that tree, and it won't happen today. It'll happen 3, 4, 5 years from now. And then all of a sudden there's a big storm and your tree fell over and you can't figure out why. Well, it's because I did a root barrier and I diseased your tree.
Oh.
But there's some advantages to it when you're trying to control the branches, because if you cut the roots back, the branches will come back with it because you have a natural root ball. Vice versa, though, if you can cut the branches, you'll actually pull the roots back naturally.
Interesting.
Really great information for spring
Right. How far away from the home do you want to plant your trees?
Look at the root bar. If they say it's a 40-foot root ball on it, or the branches are going to go 40 feet, then you'd never want those branches to go over your roof line.
Okay.
I know people like it because they get shade, but that means the roots go under there too.
You never want your branches to go over your roof line because roots go under there too.
Yep.
So what were the bushes that you said were trees, not to plant?
Red tip petunias.
Red tip petunias and
holly.
holly you do not want to plant. Now, let me ask you about the erosion around the property, the eroding. I get a lot of that on the foundation report, where it's an erosion of dirt.
Mm-hmm.
What should be on the side of everyone's house?
You want it to slope away. When you have erosion like that, what it usually means is there's a downspout right there, or it's a point in the roof where it goes from A-frame to flat, and at that point it funnels a lot of water to one spot and it creates erosion.
Okay.
So gutters, again, you want those gutters up, but when you have the downspout, if it dumps at one spot, you're going to get erosion. Put an extension on it or put it in an underground pipe, like I said. All gutters should all downspouts should go in an underground pipe, period.
All downspouts go into underground pipes. Did everyone get that? We need to know that because that is some really good information. So how much how much of the foundation should be exposed?
They say never go 2 inches. They prefer 4. So you want 4 inches of the foundation to be exposed, because what you don't want is heavy rains and the water buildup, or you have bug intrusion like carpenter ants, or your neighbor has a termite problem and they're coming over your way. You want to keep all that away, and you want to keep the upper part of your foundation away, and that's 4 inches is a good standard.
Okay,
2 is bare minimum.
Okay, so let's say my house, I have some cracking in the brick and in the walls, and I know I need foundation help. And you come out. What do you do to fix the foundation?
Evaluation, we first start with, I do a drainage assessment because I want to know what caused your problem. Before I ever look at the problem, I need to know why I'm there.
Okay.
So I look at what caused your problem, and then I would come in and I'll assess all the cracks and the doors out of frame, and I'll listen to what you're telling me. I want to ask you if you've had any plumbing leaks you've had to deal with, the things of water that could cause a problem that you're aware of. And then I'll take an elevation survey, and we take elevation through the whole house and take that information and all of these little chapters, and we create a book. We'll do an AutoCAD drawing of the home, put the elevations on there, show the contour lines to show here's what your house is doing. Here's the natural water flow across your lot. Here's why this is doing this. Here's what we're going to do pier-wise to correct it. And we give a pier repair plan. It makes sense. It matches all the information we're providing.
Tell me about these piers. How does the piers work? How do you put them in? What is a pier?
Most now, especially everybody's used to watching all the commercials, and most everybody now uses a pressed piling pier, whether it's concrete or steel. And we get up under the foundation. We dig underneath the exterior wall. It's about 4 feet down total. Gets us about 1.5 feet, 2 feet underneath the perimeter grade beam.
Okay.
And then using a hydraulic, a gas-powered or electric hydraulic ram machine, we press those piers into the ground one after another, and they're all locked together with a steel pin.
Okay.
Now we can't go, when we say we can't go any farther, people always say bedrock. What that means is that pier will not go any farther into the ground because of the weight of the structure. It's lifting the structure. It would lift the structure up. What that means is you got deep enough into that clay or into a bedrock or Austin chalk that'll carry the load of the house you're about to lift. And so you set the pier there and you get them all set, and then you lift them off of that. Each one gets set in. They're different depths. Some will go down 12 feet, some 20, some only 6 or 7 in Plano. You never really know what you're going to get.
You go down as far as you possibly
As far as you can until it stops.
And then a big deal with all the homes is that you get this lifetime warranty from the foundation company, right?
Yeah. The reason they'll do a lifetime warranty is not because the company has a special machine or a method. It's the quality of the pier. Because if you think about what I just said, I put that pier into refusal, meaning I was able to lift the house up off it. Because if I didn't go deep enough and I tried to raise the house, it would just push my pier in the ground as I tried to jack the house up. It would drive my pier down farther. So we know we're set. So if it's properly installed, you should never – I mean, the failure rating on that pier is so low. You hardly ever do warranties.
But what everybody wants, so when you do, you hardly ever need to use the warranty.
Right.
However, the person that purchases the home is going to want that
Lifetime
transferable lifetime warranty, even though they don't usually work from what I've heard.
You shouldn't need it, but you want
need
it. It still makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good. And you want to have a company that's been in business for many years so that, they're not just a fly-by-night company coming in. You want to make sure you have a reputable company. And I highly recommend Shaun.
Thank you.
And Shaun, tell us how to reach you again.
Again, it's Integrated Foundation Solutions. My office number is 972-660-8600. And we're closed, obviously, today, but leave a message or call during the week, and the girls will help you out in the office, schedule me out.
Yes, and we have beautiful Heather here. She is my friend. These are my friends. These are not just people that do foundation. They're actually friends of mine that I hang out with and really like really well. Most of the people I've had on the show have been actual friends. And I love being with you every Sunday. I'm here bringing great content to you. Our show is almost over. Next week, we're having Angela Deaton, and we're having a financial planner on, and we're going to be talking about some really interesting things. So I'm so glad that you're with us. Talk to you next week.
You've been listening to The Jenna Ryan Show on Talk Radio 1190 AM. For more information, contact Jenna through Facebook or email at jennaryanrealty@gmail.com. Join us again next time on Talk Radio 1190 AM for The Jenna Ryan Show.